Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our self-directed IRA class this Tuesday. We know there are probably lots of places you can be, but we want to say thank you for joining us and spending the next hour getting some self-directed IRA and real estate investing education. We do have a very special speaker on today, but I'm going to just get a couple of brief announcements out first before we introduce him. So just real quick, the first upcoming classes that we have, of course, are always going to be our weekly webinars. So every Tuesday, every Saturday at 12 o'clock, just like right now, we will be hosting these live webinars, bringing in guest speakers, sometimes our own staff, but to share some education for you, and also a great place to network in the chat box as well. We also have our virtual networking happy hour. If you don't really want any education, you just want to meet people, want to network, this is a national happy hour, and we do have people that like to tune in all across the United States. So definitely join us for the fourth Wednesday of every month at 6:30 and grab a beer, grab a glass of wine, come join us for our happy hour. And if you have missed any of the classes, you can always go back and rewatch them on our Facebook and on our YouTube channel. We'd love to have you subscribe to YouTube. We have a lot of great videos planned for 2022, so definitely be sure to subscribe and get tuned in for that one. The next event that we have coming up is our hybrid self-directed IRA social. So the SDIRA social is kind of like our $1 trillion networking event that we used to put on, but it's even bigger, it's even better, and we host them in Houston, Austin, and Dallas the first, second, and third consecutive Tuesdays of the month. So if you want to go through all the different cities, you definitely can do that. Or if you want to join from, online on your computer at home, you have that option as well. But these are growing every month. We had about 50 to 60 people at our last Dallas mixer, and they just keep growing in every city. So definitely come out for that one. We have appetizers, drinks, and education. So definitely be sure to register for those events too. If you would like to refer, somebody that wants to open up a self-directed IRA, or maybe they just need some more information, you can now get credits towards your Quest account for sending people to Quest. All you have to do is let them know that you were the one that referred them, and they will get a $25 credit to their account as well as yours. So you'll save some money by sending some people to Quest, and it's a great way, if you're looking to raise capital, some of those apartment deals, I know a lot of times people will send their friends and stuff to us. You guys can get credits for that. So be sure to use our referral program whenever you send a friend to Quest. Coming up to the last couple of events here, but this is one of the most exciting ones in my opinion, because I love how fun it's going to be. So the Major League Investing Lunch and Learns are coming up, and they're going to be about how to hit home run deals. So we've made it kind of fun. We've got that baseball theme going on, and we're going to be bringing 4 speakers and an umpire out to share their case studies about how they were able to hit a home run deal. And then with the audience's help, we will judge who had the best home run deal and who maybe just, didn't make it past first or second base. So that one's going to be really fun. Again, Houston, Austin, Dallas on the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th. So be sure to register for that one. Again, that one's free too. And then if you're in San Antonio, I want to share a lunch and learn that we also have. We don't do too much out in San Antonio, but we are trying to get back out there. So if you'd like to join us for a San Antonio lunch and learn, we're going to be hosting one on March 24th at the San Antonio Norris Conference Center. So invite a friend, come on out. That one's going to be free as well. And then the last event, and this one unfortunately is not free, but it is well worth the price, and it is our Quest Expo. This is the 3rd annual expo that we have put on. We've done it in Dallas, Houston. It's going to be in Houston again, and it's probably the biggest and best, most highly anticipated, I'm sure, event that we put on all year. We have over 600 to 700 attendees at this one, over 50 vendors and speakers. It's the biggest self-directed IRA conference in the nation. So if that tells you anything, this is definitely one event that you want to be at. So scan this QR code, you can get your tickets. They are in early bird pricing right now. And I will let you know, VIP tickets have sold out every single year. So if you do want to get the best spot and you want to be a part of the Cowboy Casino night, join in and get your ticket before those sell out. So if you'd like to get in contact with us, you want to talk more about self-directed IRAs, if something that you hear today really sparks an interest and you'd like to have a conversation about it, this is how you can get in touch with us. This QR code makes it super easy to scan. You can schedule a one-on-one consultation right from this QR code, but feel free to give us a call, send us an email, or chat with us on our website. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our speaker, Steve Lindahl, and excuse me if I didn't pronounce that correctly, but Steve is a real estate investing expert. He has been doing this for quite a while, actually acquired his first property when he was only 18. Right now, he focuses on owning, building, selling businesses all around real estate investing. So everything from residential properties to commercial properties, he's done it. And as the VP of Portfolio Management at HIS Capital Funding, I am very confident that he's going to be able to share some really, really, really great information with us today. The topic that he's going to be talking about is something that I think a lot of us really need to hear. I think a lot of the times we always want to know, how do we make the most money? What's the best deal? But we don't really think about what happens when something goes wrong, right? So today he's going to be sharing some real life experiences about how to understand, how to structure deals, and when things do go wrong, what you should know and what you should be aware of. So Steve, I'm going to go ahead and bring you up. Hello, and thanks for being with us.
All righty. Well, you can see my screen. Everyone can see my screen.
We sure can.
All righty, Sarah, thank you so much. And I just want to say happy 2/22/22 today. It's the first time that's ever happened in our lives, and I don't think we'll see another one. So anyhow, February 22nd, 2022. And what a great day. You mentioned, Sarah, that I'm an expert real estate investor. I really think that a better terminology for me was you know what? It turned out pretty good for me. But I feel more like Babe Ruth. I have more strikeouts than anyone else, but we got quite a few home runs out of it. And so I would prefer to look at myself that way than an expert. The school of bumps and hard knocks, maybe. And I was mentioning to Sarah and to Quest today that what could the topic be? And we've got some really cool investments going on, and we could have, like we mentioned, some really sexy investments. We're doing a huge 70,000 acre development in Tulum, Mexico, and there's some really, really fun stuff, and we could get you all excited. But I thought I'm going to do a 180. I'm going to do totally opposite, because I really do believe that if you understand whole notes, I really believe, truly in my heart, that everyone would be investing in them. The main reason people don't, it's the what if. That's great as long as everything goes good, but what if it goes bad? And I thought this would be a perfect presentation. Maybe kind of a hard one to keep upbeat and excited, but I think when you get to the end, you're going to be like, you know what? I think that's structured pretty nice for me. And so what we'll do is we'll talk about whole note investing when the deal goes wrong. But I think sometimes it helps to look back on the journey to better help you understand the destination, if you will. In other words, I've got a map pulled up, zoomed in on the top. And somehow I got to a company called His Capital Group as an investor. And I purchased whole notes from them. But maybe how did I get there? Because I think if we don't look at that journey, I think it's maybe possible for some of us to think, yeah, well, Steve somehow got lucky, or maybe has a rich uncle, or maybe so things just happen good to him, and they don't for maybe you or something. So I would like to share this journey with you, and I think you're going to see that it's not a fancy journey. It's basically be honest, work hard, do the job right, finish it, and never quit. But I come from a little town called Waupun, Wisconsin, born and raised there. And I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. And back in 2010, I moved down to Orlando, Florida. And so basically, and in 2014, I retired. And I'm going to get into the presentation a little bit, what I retired from. But basically what happened was I found myself at 50 years old. I had some money in the bank. We did fairly well, and I could retire if I could find a place to invest it. And I remember someone saying, Steve, you're looking at buying all these rental properties around Orlando. And by the way, that's easier said than done too. And I couldn't find one. And they said, why don't you become the passive real estate investor? Why do you want all the headaches as a landlord? And I said, I don't, but I don't know what else to do. And today we'll talk about what I learned back in 2014, and I became a student of it. And I think you'll find that it is a game changer. And first of all, I want to show you the top 2 investments of the month. And now these 2 are my pride and joy investments. And I took 4 days off of work, and we just focused on my buddy Jace and my buddy Carter, and they call me Grandpa. And at my age, I'm pushing 60 years old. I'll be 59 years old this summer. And so I guess where I'm going with this presentation is, we'll talk about making money. And my idea of success is having all the things you want that money can buy, but also have everything that money can't buy. And money couldn't buy time with these little boys that I hung out with, and we caught a bunch of fish too. So we're going to go back. We're going to go back on the journey to 1982. And 1982 was the year I graduated from the little high school in Waupun, Wisconsin. And when I was about 12 years old or so, my dad and I, we'd play Monopoly. And my dad, he was a landlord. He bought houses around this little town. And I worked on his houses, and I was brought up with this. And we were playing Monopoly one day, and I was losing really bad. And he was beating me, and I kept paying him more rent, and he kept getting more houses. And I just remember it wasn't fun. I had that sick feeling in my stomach. And he stopped the game, and he said, Steve, that's how real life works. That's what it feels like in real life. And at age 18, I bought my first rental, which is the house you're looking at, and I started collecting rent. I knew what side I wanted to be on. And now this picture I took last time, or one of the last times I was up there, so obviously this isn't a picture from 1982, but that is the house. And it's a 2-family house, and there's a stairway that goes up the back. And we got married, my wife Darla and I, in 1984. And we had no money, just like many of us on the call. We all start at the same place. But I remember that the tenant upstairs, their rent paid everything but $100 of our mortgage. And that gave us our beginning. And now it's not a pretty house. We had it painted white back then, and you can see the foundation is sagging a little bit on the left. And literally, we could take a beach ball and put it in the kitchen, and it would roll to the other side of the room. But this was our castle, and this was our beginning. And when we look at that, we think, well, how could that ever get you ahead in life? Well, I just mentioned that I'm pushing 60 years old now. So let's take this on the journey to where we are today, and let's see how that house plays into it. when we bought that house, I didn't understand what leverage was, and I didn't understand what it meant to have equity in the house. I didn't ever even know those terms. But I did know that that house was worth a little bit more than what I paid for, and it allowed us to get another note, another loan, a mortgage, if you will, and we bought another house as a rental. So now we have two houses out of that first one that we bought for about $32,000, I believe. And we bought a two-family, and now we get rent coming in from 3 units. And there's another two-family. There's our little storybook house. Happened to stumble across that one, a little single family. And my wife and I never heard about property managers. So we did this all on the side, and we took care of all these tenants. And this is a little two-family. My uncle lived in there for years, and there's a little garage house, and there's another two-family, and eventually we combined and we went into some commercial, and that's my beautiful bride of 37 years, Darla, standing there. And then we bought a large tract of land, and we lived there. Oh, it was just beautiful. They had deer, and it was just gorgeous. And ultimately, when we wake up each morning now, today in Orlando, Florida, this is our view. And it's crazy to think, if you look at the picture in 1982, how could that take us to a beautiful, beautiful place to live in Orlando, Florida? And yet that was the beginning. And again, I want to show you that because I think there's a process. I'm not aware of too many people that just get rich overnight. It certainly hasn't happened to me. And if it hasn't happened to you, I want to encourage you, because it does happen if you just keep moving forward. Now, you've got to make money before you can invest money, okay? And you got to save that money. And so I had two main careers, and not real flashy careers, I wouldn't call them. I bought a distressed trucking business, and the business wasn't doing well, and I was a truck driver. I'm no more of a truck driver than I am a computer scientist. But I drove a truck, and I did it for about 7 years. And what happened with that was, by the end of year 7 or so, we were able to sell that business for a profit. And that profit, we decided to not change our lifestyle, but take that money and pay off our house and pay off our vehicles. So age 30, I was completely debt free, and I have been since that point. Okay. So another story in here is, when you work, good things happen. And when you make money, I could have bought a BMW. I could have got flashy. I could have impressed my friends, but I put it and knocked down my debt, and it's a wonderful place to be debt free. Then after we sold the business, I got into the insurance industry. And the insurance industry, I started out as a door-to-door salesman, really, and it ended up doing very well for us. And I did that for like 18 years. And then we moved on. Now, when you make money and you save money, you can invest. I invested in stocks. And honestly, yes, we have real estate, but the stock market, I started putting a lot of money into it through a broker. And I knew nothing about stocks. I will be honest with you today, I still don't know. You look at all these ticker symbols and all these ups and downs and bulls and bear markets and all this kind of stuff. I'm not your man. And I remember we hit 2 downs. And one time it was several $100,000. And I remember talking to my stockbroker, and I remember saying, what just happened? And his response was, the market just took a correction. And I said, well, where's my money? And it just was gone. It was just gone. And I remember that helpless feeling, and many of you on the call maybe can relate to that. And so then we hear the saying, never invest in something that you don't understand. So I go into another investment with some partners. We bought a bank, of all things. Now, we didn't buy the bank building, we bought the bank business. And very long story, very, very short, it didn't do so well. And we ended up selling it for a loss to another bank. And we lost, I will just tell you, 60 cents on the dollar. And then I went into Forex, invested with a guy, and I will tell you that didn't go so good. But all three of those investments weren't tied to anything. And I just remember I felt like it was just gone. And I will tell you that I thank God that we got it back through the stock market, but that one time it took 9 years to get it back. And then in 2014, this brings us to our subject today. And so why would I be so excited about whole notes? One, it changed my life. It's something I can understand, and it's something that for me has been very predictable. And my dad was a correctional officer, and so he was a prison guard, and he retired and he had a pension, which means that when my dad retired, he got paid the same as he was working all the way throughout his whole life until a couple months ago, my dad passed away. And I didn't have a pension. So now back in 2013, I've got enough money to invest. I mean, enough money to retire if it goes to work. Okay. But if it doesn't go to work and I start spending those savings, that will never last my lifetime. And so today, I will tell you that this investment allowed me to retire back in 2014. And every morning since then, I wake up and the bills are paid. And the reason I'm telling you that is I believe that probably is our goal for everyone on the call. Some of you are probably past me already, and congratulations, I'm going to learn from you. Some of you are behind, and some of you maybe are in your 20s watching this. And all I have to say is good for you. And keep investing in your IRA. Learn the rule of 72 and Google that if you don't know that. But literally, how many times can your money to double in your lifetime? So, but with whole note investments, what made it so simple for me to understand is that if we lent on a house, and let's just use this as an example. It's $1 million, $49,000 house. Okay. We'll call it $1 million house. Let's say that I lent $500,000 on that. And let's say that I negotiated 10% interest rate. Well, that's a pretty good deal. 10%. The scary part is, what if that person takes my $500,000 or doesn't pay me back? That's where the beauty of the note, where I feel secure, is because I'm first position on public record on that mortgage. We call it a whole note. And so now my worst case scenario, if they don't pay me my $500 back, I have $1 million home. Okay. So I got that. And I will tell you, I used to lay in bed at night wondering what the stock market was going to look like in the next morning. I will tell you, I don't know if I've ever missed a night's sleep since I've owned whole notes. Okay. But they can go wrong. And that's what the conversation will be. And what we'll do today is we're going to take real case studies. And I'm just going to tell you the way I have mine set up, and you can set them up the way you want. We only lend as business purpose loans. We won't lend to a personal residence, and we will only lend to an entity. And that's where I feel comfortable. The other thing I have done is I partnered with His Capital Group in this case, and they're experts at bringing the right borrowers in and dealing with everything. and I want to remain 100% passive. Even if something goes wrong, I want to partner. I'll be happy to pay them a couple points to do that. Okay. Some of you are go-getters and say, hey, you know what? I'm taking the whole thing on. I'm going to find the borrower. I'm going to lend. And good for you. Again, I learned from you type of people. But in this case, what I've done is I've taken a private lender, let them do all the proper diligence, take all the right execution. If something goes wrong, they bring the attorneys in, they take care of everything. I always remain 100% passive, okay? I did my very best to just give you a broad view and to specifically pick two newer loans that defaulted. We took one of our portfolios here, and we've got a little bit more than $64 million worth of loans here. And so we got a pretty good chance that something in there is going to go wrong with 64 million. And so I took two notes out of here. And I think the best example that I could give you is my personal example. And one of them notes was actually one I owned. And we'll talk about that. And you can see my investor profile here, and you can see that I own notes along the left-hand side. And basically, it's actually this note right here, 709 South 9th, is the one we'll be talking about. You also can see that I've received monthly payments like this for many years now. And I think this is just such a wonderful investment with a whole note and having the security of the property. But to me, this is my pension. And I really believe that any of you on this call can do this. If you have the funds, you can do it now. If you don't, my goodness, I wish I would have known this before I was 50 years old. And I'm so glad you're on the call to learn this strategy. These are the two places that we'll talk about. One is in Fort Pierce, and that's 709 on the left, okay? And one is on the right, that's right here in Orlando, Florida, where our office is based. And that one there is a condo. And we'll discuss one of our investors named David that owns several whole notes, and one of his, of course, didn't go so good. Now, when you secure a borrower, whether you do it on your own or whether you do it professionally like our organization does, we've been in and out of about $500 million worth of deals, and every single deal goes through the exact same process in underwriting. Okay, so we're pretty diligent, and of course you want to be diligent as well. We do credit reports and background checks. Okay, so now we're looking at the borrower before we're even looking at the property. And you'll be amazed what you can find in a background check. If we had to give up one of the two and only have a background check or a credit report, we would do the background check. It allows you to understand the borrower, but even gives you common sense. I'll give you an example. We turned down a borrower a while back. Nothing super bad, but he wasn't making his child support payments. He was behind on them. And maybe he would catch up, maybe he wouldn't, I don't know. But we're not even his children. How would we get paid if we gave him money? So common sense will take you a long ways. And obviously you don't want to lend to that. And then you want to look at the property. You want to do a BPO or appraisal, okay, broker's price opinion, or have a full appraisal done. We want to know that property inside and out. We want to know our loan to value ratios. And ultimately, what we're asking ourselves is, if we get that thing back, would we want that house? And let me just clarify something here. When you lend to a borrower, the borrower is typically the biggest winner in the deal. They're in it to make 20, 30, 40%, okay? And the borrower is your friend. That's your business partner, if you will. If you're going to do a loan with them, like it or not, you're business partners. And I will just say that in every instance, 100% of the time, you want that borrower to win. And the better you can underwrite it and the better chance you give them to win, the better chance they come back for another one. Let them make money. And because without them, this whole system doesn't work. Okay? We love our borrowers. We love our passive investors. Then you've got a balloon payment disclosure. In other words, the terms. How are they going to pay it? When does it mature? What happens if they go past the balloon payment? What happens if they don't pay? Again, that's all disclosed. Something easy to forget about is, maybe hazard insurance and all the requirements. But to give you a clue here, give you a broader picture, on 709, the note that I owned, that had 53 pages of investor affidavits, LLC resolutions, heirs omissions. I mean, it literally had everything. And then we took it one step further and we brought it to a third-party servicer and had them service it, keep it clean, collect all the payments, and everything is done. Exactly like we've done every other loan. We are not in a perfect world. At some point, something is going to go wrong in an investment. There is no perfect investment. This is where you mitigate your risk, okay? And this is where you protect yourself. It's kind of like you can be a surgeon and you can learn some stuff probably off of YouTube today, and everything, you maybe could even do it until something goes wrong. And that's why the doctors are paid what they're paid, okay? And the same thing here. Make sure you took care of everything, because something does go wrong here and there. I will tell you, it doesn't happen very often because the borrower has skin in the game. They have too much to make. It's a great opportunity for them, and we're excited for them. And usually they don't want to walk away from that deal, and we don't want them to, okay? So I will say in most cases, it truly does work if it's set up properly like this. But the borrower started with us in 2014, and in 2016, they stopped making payments. So, okay, so we had a good borrower. They paid for 2 years. I showed you monthly payments, okay? They come in, and what happened? Okay, well, again, every single case, you do what you can to help that borrower. I don't care if it's standing on your head. I don't care what it takes. Help that individual, help that entity, the owner of that entity, succeed. And in this particular case, no matter what we did, we couldn't help this one succeed. They didn't return our calls, and I don't know the whole background, what happened, but it wasn't good, okay? And so we were forced to foreclose on the property. Well, again, I've given you the worst, to my knowledge, this is our worst case scenario in that $64 million portfolio, okay? And again, I own this one. So what happened was we finally, we could write a country western song on this one. Our attorney went to the courthouse over 30 times, personally visited. I mean, this thing should have been cleaned up in 6 months. This thing went on for, I think, 4 or 5 years. Okay. And what happened was we finally got towards the end of the foreclosure, and finally we're to the end, and we're going to get the property back. Nothing more can go wrong, right? Until the borrower files bankruptcy. Now we go to another judge, another court, everything starts over, and that whole country western song that happened on the last judge starts over. And so this thing went on forever. Let me say that if you're dependent on that monthly check, this would not be a good situation for you. Okay. If you invested in the beauty of your IRA investments, for many of you, you're not using that money. You're trying to build wealth and grow your investments. And for you, you probably are kind of like enticed with this. It's kind of like, well, yeah, the borrower stopped paying, but how much is that property worth? How much equity is in there? Because remember, your first position on that property. And I will tell you that I, again, don't remember losing any sleep on this, but it did drag on for a long time, and I didn't see any payments for a long time until we took the property back. Now, we had something going for us, and just like you out there, that you folks that are looking for properties, we know the market's going up. Okay, I bought that note for $45,000. Which was a portion of what the purchase price was. Again, the borrower has skin in the game, and it's a portion of what the actual value is. So, but look at this. It went up to almost $184,000, and that was Trulia. Now you can't always go on that, of course, just like Zillow, but we know that the prices have gone up. And so I'm feeling pretty comfortable with this note. And then in November of 2021, we were able to take that property over and literally sell it, and it was worth closer to $240,000. What we did in August of 2021 to get that value up is we stuck some money into it, and we had our contractors go in, and they put a new roof, new floors, new countertops. They painted the exterior, new backsplash, updated electrical. I mean, it really did turn out beautiful, and it literally we had buyers quite fast. But now we have a buyer for it, and they put down $10,000. The other $10,000 is coming in 2 weeks, and we sold it for $240,000. So what could go wrong now? It's done. The buyer backs out. Again, I'm showing you the worst note we have here that I'm aware of again. But the borrower backed out, or the buyer. And so now at this point, we've got their $10,000 legally. We certainly can keep. We chose to give that back, and so now we put it back on the market. And when we put it back on the market, it sold for $255,000. Okay, so that's a beautiful number. And now let's go through the project summary, and let's reconcile what the passive investor, what I ended up with, okay, what we ended up with as a lender. Alrighty, the purchase date was 2/24/16. Okay, now the lender collected from 2014 to 2016, remember, because the borrower was making their payments then. The sold date was 12/28/21, and what a nice Christmas present, because it was a long time coming. The first thing that we're going to talk about is my $45,000 that has been tied up for all these years. And so now at the sale of the property, we've got some payments. We got some expenses to come out of here before we can walk away from the closing table. Property taxes. Keep in mind that can, in our worst case scenario, usually it's not like that. Usually you can reconcile a lot sooner and deal with close a property. But this one was $25,000 and some change. We had title fees of $2,200. We had deed recording. We had utilities. We had commission to one of our realtors that sold that. Okay, and we have net proceeds of $212,046. Now we got the house, okay? And I want to remind you, the way I have this set up is I've been passive 100%. I haven't done nothing, okay? I let his capital, their attorneys do everything, okay? But now that we got the house back, the first thing out of the house when we sell it is my $45,000. And let's go back to the stock market. Let's go back to Forex. Let's go back to the banking business. I wasn't tied to nothing, and I lost it when the market went down. And again, thank God we got it back over the years, but here it's tied. It's tied to an asset, which I think that we could all appreciate. Another interesting thing is this $47,340 is the interest that we should have been paid for all those years that we weren't paid. And if the note is set up properly, it goes to 18% default interest rate. And so what's interesting is I made a little bit more interest than the note itself. Certainly it did better than 8% on my worst case situation. Rehab was about $80,000. Insurance, don't forget that number, $10,678. Attorney fees, $24,642. Another reason I like dealing with a private lender and having a partner is that they picked up that cost. And until we sold the property, they didn't get that back. And that kept me 100% passive. That kept me at my $45,000 already. The total $205,000. So really, if we back out the 205, 956.30 out of the 212 and 46 cents, we ended up with $6,044.16 for a total of about $53,000 profit on our $45,000 note. So again, during the journey, I honestly was thinking, man, I would sell this thing right now. It's going too long. But now that we're at the end, I think most of us on this call would probably buy that note, seeing the end result. The second property we're going to talk about is the condo right here in Orlando, Florida. And let's take a look at the executive summary again. And we'll go faster on this one, but it's the same exact process as the first one. But this deal is for an experienced investor, okay? We never lend to anyone that doesn't have experience. They got to have profitable deals under their belt, okay? Who's looking to buy, fix, and flip this property, okay? The investor just closed on 4 total properties with us. Good borrower, they pay, give them more, okay? The strategy on this property is to stabilize, refinance for the long term. Worst case scenario, the client will have one of his partners sell the property as they are licensed agents, and there's not even no rehab on this deal, okay? He's gonna turn it right away, okay? So now, if we look at the financing overview, the purchase price is $132,500, loan amount $106,000, the as-is value $150,000. So we got a nice loan to value there, 70%, it's called 71%. And the investor makes 8%. So the investor that bought this note from us, if you've never bought a whole note before, another beautiful thing about understanding an investment is this is simple math. You can take the 8%, if you bought that note for $106,000, take 8% times $106,000, that number is your annual interest, okay? Take that annual interest, divide it by 12, and your monthly payment will come out right to the penny of $706.67. So you can see how I bought enough of these notes that every month I've got payments coming in that take care of my bills. Same thing as David, our investor in this case. Until it went wrong, okay? The foreclosure. But now, this is the letter to David, and this would be your letter maybe if your note went wrong. I know this is hello, David, and this is in the investor profile, just like I showed you mine. I know Steve has already talked to you about the payoff. We are so thrilled that you not only received your capital back and the 8% interest from the inception of the loan from 12/14/2018 to November 12th, 2019. So he received interest already, and then the borrower stopped paying. And again, you do everything you can to help that borrower back on their feet. But in this case, we couldn't. But then you also received default interest rate of 12% from 11/1/19 to the date of payoff 11/30/2021. And let's talk about how they arrived at that 12%. Okay, he's getting 8%, and the default rate in this case, he has an agreement with his capital, is 18%. The default rate is split in half. So if he's getting 18%, that would be 4% split. So in other words, 8 plus 4% is 12%. So in other words, the default was split in half. His capital got half, David got half, but David did nothing at all in this case. So the payoff is 11/30/2021, and the regular payment David already received prior to the default was close to $8,000, $7,700 and change. The default interest is $26,000 and some change, and that's the key. So when the payment stopped, in his case, the investment kept working because we knew we were going to take that property back, and he was first position. Total interest on that whole note was north of $34,000. And it says you should receive the deposit yesterday from the third-party servicer, FCI, for the principal of $106,000 and the interest of $26,467. And we gave kudos to Stephanie and her team for staying with the foreclosure process. And David, thank you for being patient. It paid off for him. And just a little overcap view, if you will. Typically, there's 3 investors in every note. One is the bank itself. In our case, it's his capital group. The second is the borrower. We call them the active investor. These are not desperate people for money. These are very savvy investors. They know how to leverage capital, and they're very intelligent investors. And we love to work with them, and we lend to them. The third investor is the passive investor that says, hey, I would like to take your position and get 8% of maybe a 10% loan, and his capital keeps 2% so that they can make a profit. Okay. I would like to share one other strategy real quick with you that some of you on this call are saying, you know what, I've got $15,000 in my IRA account and I don't know what to do with it. It's too small to go anywheres, and I'm paying Quest to manage it, to be my custodian. There's a beautiful fund out there called a Regulation A fund. A is an apple, if you want to Google that. And we actually have one, and it's called Fund 3. And basically what you do is you take over his capital's position as the lender, and the fund becomes the lender. And what's nice about that is you don't have to buy the whole note. And in other words, let's say a note goes south, you're not holding it all by yourself anymore. Maybe you want to be in a whole note. You say, hey, I would never want to even be in that situation. You don't have to be with a Reg A fund. You can go into a note with many investors and then enjoy the returns when we sell it, but not one investor's sitting waiting for the monthly payment, if that makes sense. And we can certainly talk about that. What I would like to leave you is some value. And we have our team, kudos to the team, and our technology department have put together just a robust training platform, educational center. If you would like this, just simply go to his capitalfunding.com/passive. And we will be glad to share all this with you. Some of you maybe wouldn't feel comfortable calling me or calling us or whatever, and just want to learn. Wonderful tool for your library, and we'll be honored to give that to you. Once you're in the system, you're going to see all kinds of opportunities for investment knowledge and insight. But one of them is a whole note case study, and literally will take you through in depth what I touched on today. And we'll even include some of our investors in there where the notes didn't go right, and you can hear it directly from them. And so our belief is all about education and value. And again, if you'd like, you can go to our hiscapitalfunding.com/passive, or you certainly feel free to email me directly. And my email is above. And the other thing you can do, if you'd like, certainly just text the number below 833-530-0863 and just type text notes, and we'll get that, and we'll certainly respond to that. But again, I just consider it an honor to join you today, and I hope I gave you some insight. And my whole goal today was not to show you how well I did, because I think you could see I didn't do so well, and I hope that that'll save you a couple laps around the track, and maybe where I was able to retire at 50, maybe some of you can retire at 40 because of this. So thank you again so much, Quest, for inviting me. And if there's any questions or anything I can do, certainly don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much for being a part of our presentation. I haven't seen any questions come in quite yet, but if you do have any questions for Steve, go ahead and send those in now. I do apologize. I realized I was muted and I was talking to myself there for a second. But if you would like to ask any questions for Steve, now is your chance. But again, Steve, thank you so much for being with us. If you have your contact information, go ahead and share that with us, and I will type that out right now. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Okay, I guess not. Okay, well, thank you so much, and we're going to go ahead and end the broadcast. I think I might be having technical difficulties. In that case, okay, it sounds like that you guys can hear me. I just can't hear myself. No worries. Well then, in that case, yes, Steve, if you wouldn't mind just posting your contact information down here for us, that way we can go ahead and pull that up on the screen. We have a couple questions here asking if you'll be at the Quest Expo. We hope so. We'll see what we can do about getting you on there. But we've got Steve's information coming now. Here we go. There's that for you guys. So if you want to get in contact with him, this is his email. Feel free to send him a message. But again, thank you everyone for joining us. I still don't see any questions. So in that case, we'll go ahead and round it out. But thank you so much for being a part of our self-directed class here this Tuesday.
It was a privilege joining you all. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.